Hello, Ericka Hines. Thank you for being here.
Hi, I'm happy to be here.
So, I would love to share your brilliance with all the people. I'm super excited to work with you, to have you on the university's faculty.
Mhm.
Um, can you tell everybody what it is that you do and why you are part of my faculty?
Yes, thank you. I'm excited. So I do work around diversity, equity, and inclusion, and I do it all across the country with organizations, for-profit, not-for-profit, philanthropic, and I really help organizations sort of work internally to help their work environments become more inclusive and equitable and diverse.
Mhm. And so, um, I'm very excited about the university for a number of reasons. I'm really excited to train the best coaches in the industry who will be training through a diversity, inclusion, and equity lens,
Mhm.
which is something you and I have talked about since I started Bear Coach training years ago. And so, what do you think the difference will be for life coaches who are trained not with just a couple of diversity classes thrown in, but who have the foundation of their training through a DEI lens?
Mhm. Well, first of all, I think that it may take the um, the methodologies and the lessons that you learn in coaching,
Mhm.
and it will really promote the idea of how do you tailor those to people's lived experiences,
Mhm.
especially when you're thinking about the inclusion and the equity part of doing this work.
Mhm.
Um, I have yet to meet a coach that doesn't say that they want a diverse clientele, but you can't apply the same you can't apply the same practices to every single person. They have to be tailored, and people's lived experiences definitely have an impact on how they are walking through life and how they might want to be coached.
Mm. And so, if we were to fast forward years from now,
Mhm.
and the university, let's say the university has trained thousands of life coaches who feel that they can easily say they're in allyship. How do you see how do you see that impact on our society?
Well, I think the impact will be that you will have people who are walking through life, able to detail how they want success, but really have it fitted to their circumstances.
Mhm.
Really having it include, when I say lived experiences, what I mean is life, and so seeing a coaching industry that is really taking into account um, and really stepping up to the plate to become inclusive around their own the way that they approach their work, but then also really deepening that trust and that experience for their clients, I think is only really going to help society because then you'll have people who are walking around saying, you know what, my coach saw the entirety of me and I didn't have to hide this one piece or not talk about this one piece because I didn't know if they could really include that into how they were coaching me.
Ooh, the entirety of me. That gives me goosebumps. Um, so what do you see as the biggest impact you can have on the university in your role?
The biggest impact that I think that I can have is probably having the singular approach of looking at diversity, equity, and inclusion, and being able to translate that into how it fits into the coaches that you are who are going through the university. So that oftentimes there are people who say, well, that doesn't apply to me because dot, dot, dot.
Mhm.
And I have taught enough people um, at this point, close to 10,000 people, that I can figure out how diversity, equity, and inclusion fits into everyone's business and everyone's job. And so I think I bring that benefit because maybe it's just that I simply don't take no for an answer.
This is one of the reasons we get along. That and our equal hate of pumpkin spice.
Yes, and our slight desire for extraness.
There's slight. I call
That was
myself,
sarcastic.
I know. I'm like, well, I call myself a maximalist. I embrace that. So I have asked every faculty member this question, and I'm curious how you will answer it. If I were to say, like, hey, you tell me the top 2 things you want to teach as your class topics, and that's what we're going to do, what would you pick out?
That's a really good question. I think I would pick out how to recognize when you're being not inclusive,
Mm-hmm.
and what to do about that.
Mm-hmm.
And then the second thing, which I know that you have topics, but whatever I'm teaching, I'm just going to wedge it in there.
Yes.
I think the other thing that I would teach is really the origins of why we continue to reinforce the status quo and what we can do to break out of that cycle. The status quo as it pertains to social change and ending in social inequities.
Mm-hmm. And why do you think coaches, why are you laughing at me?
I was like, there's a follow-up question.
I know. I'm like, it sparked in me. Why do you think the very white male heterosexual coaching industry, even though coaches will say they want diversity and inclusion and equity, why do you think they resist real change in the industry?
I'm trying to think of my non-cursing answer.
You can curse.
I mean, I think they resist it the same way that every other white male heterosexual Christian does in America, because it causes them discomfort and it causes a shift from power. So that's no different in the coaching industry. So it wouldn't make sense for them to adopt a different way, and truly to only pay lip service to diversity and not inclusion and equity, because those two, inclusion and equity, require change.
Yeah.
Diversity does not. It is representational.
Right.
So yes, that's why they would buck against it, because it moves them out of the spotlight. So.
But in reality, when we do,
Yes.
Right, what happens when we do?
We have a better America for everyone. Yeah. We have a better country. We have a better local areas. I mean, when we move the dominant culture, which is what I would be talking about, that's white male heterosexuals, Christian, I sort of blink all of those together because that's the imagery of what status quo is in this country, and white women, same things, heterosexual, Christian. When those become decentered, as from the ideas of what success means, from the ideas of what wellness means, from the ideas of what beauty means, from the ideas of what, the perfect weight is. When we decenter those and we allow there to be like an entire panoply of other options, that's very upsetting for those who are fit into those categories. But for the rest of us who actually can, we walk this earth with you, and in sometimes larger quantities than you, it's very affirming. And if you're a coach, and I guess I'm just going to say this directly, and you say that you care about, helping people and improving the lives of others, then get really serious about what that means if you're going to have a diversity, equity, and inclusion lens. Because what that means is you're going to have to be in uncomfortable situations where you have to see beyond your own perceptions. And even though I assume that you're practicing that in learning how to be a coach, to do that with an additional lens of people who do not look like you, do not have the same lived experience from you, do not have the same sexual orientation or gender identity from you. It is additional work, but it is the way that the world is moving. So get on board.
Get on board. I often joke that my daughter Cora is the one who, like, from a little child, had continuously has woken me up. I mean, she was the kid at the Thanksgiving table. There's a movie scene of it, and that literally was my child at like 8 years old, just being like, this is a bullshit holiday, and let me tell you all why.
Indigenous Peoples Day.
Right. And everybody like looking down at the table, like, where does this come from? And she trolls my social media. Like, she is always like, stop being a white feminist. And I am so much happier for it. I am so much richer for it. I have a ton to learn. But as uncomfortable as it, like you're saying, as it can be, like, you better fucking get on board, because first of all, it's uncomfortable, but what do we say as coaches? We say get comfortable with being uncomfortable. We say everything good's outside of your comfort zone, and yet we're like So I'm really thrilled to have you, not just with the university, but helping work with my company so that we walk our talk, and do what we say we're gonna do. So for people who are interested in training with the university, would you say that learning how to coach yourself and others by going through DEI training and really living it, what do you think is the biggest result a coach would see, personally or professionally? What have you witnessed?
What I've witnessed is that any person who undertakes the work of deepening their analysis as it pertains to racism, sexism, transphobia, ageism, etc. Anyone who does the work of deepening their analysis and truly having it become muscle memory, just as so much else that you're learning is becoming muscle memory, it means that you walk through life differently. And it means that those times when you mess up, because you will, that's one of my standard statements. You will fuck up. It's where I also say, be humble and ready to fumble, because
I love that quote out of you. It's so true. And I don't do humble well.
I know, but I'm
I'm learning.
Yes. So at least as it pertains to this, I would just say let's show up with humility, because all of us have things to learn. But getting back to your question, I think that what it really will do, it will help you catch yourself earlier. It will help you be in situations where rather than having that nagging feeling that things aren't right or that things are unjust, if you deepen your analysis, you will start to think about why they're unjust and what your role is in either counteracting that injustice or what's happening if you don't do that. And I don't think that everyone knows that. Most people spend their time, for various reasons, being very aware. Everyone knows, okay, most people know. racism, sexism, transphobia exists. There are those who are willfully ignorant. We're not talking to them. But how much do people know about how to analyze situations and go, oh, there's transphobia happening there. Oh, there's racism happening there. Most of the time people wait to be told there's racism and then they're like, I'm angry. The world's unjust. But deepening your analysis and being able to pick it out in your everyday occurrences, the interactions that you have, your business model, that is the deeper work, and that has the deeper ripple impact.
Well, I I am so fortunate.
Have I said enough?
You've said enough. You've said enough. You've said all the things. Is there anything that we didn't cover that you want to say?
If you come and work with me and I am teaching the courses, the university, Susan knows one of my just straight tenets is I don't do tears.
Oh, right. If you gonna cry, there'll be another coach at the ready to help you with that.
Exactly. I don't do tears, and I expect people to show up and be willing to look at themselves.
But what if you cry at Hallmark commercials? You're most likely to cry.
That's fine. And I have people who say, I'm crying. You don't have to take care of me.
That's the distinction.
That's the distinction.
You can cry, but she's not going to do anything about it.
You can cry. I mean, look, I'm not saying don't have an emotion. We all have emotions that would be inappropriate. What I'm saying is, if you decide that you have crying baggage in the class, that is your responsibility to deal with your tears, because my responsibility is to keep us moving and to do this work. And I know that there are tears and emotions involved, but those are yours.
Mm-hmm. So tomorrow, Ericka, when you come to train my team and I start crying, I'll just be like, I'm just taking care of my own tears. You carry on.
Yes, you will. Yeah. I will be like, do you need to have a break? We can have a break. We'll come back. But I will not be like, Susan, oh my gosh, are you okay? We will not do that.
Good. I actually prefer it when I cry that people don't address it, because I'm like, don't mind me. I'm just leaking over here.
I mean, yes, there's a whole pathology around that, but we're not going to get into that here.
All right. Well, thank you, Ericka.
Like, but I want to get into the pathology. I want to understand why this is the case.